Welcome back. In the previous session, we were discussing about one of the methods that helps the decision maker in taking decision with regard to investment in projects or investment. Let us continue with some of the various tools, methods used in the same category. Optimistic and pessimistic estimates. In decision making, the first step is to make a single best estimate for each item. Then it requires to make optimistic and pessimistic estimates for each variable. Another approach is to make the most likely estimate for each item in turn to see how much difference it makes to the overall result. Then we have to identify those critical variables where even a small change can make a large difference to the overall result. That is why optimistic and pessimistic method is used. The worst possible or the best possible outcomes can be evaluated. Worst possible means pessimistic situation, best possible means optimistic situation. An optimistic decision maker considers the most favorable outcome. On the other hand, a pessimistic decision maker is very conservative in his approach. In making decision under uncertainty, the decision maker should assess not only the most likely outcome from a decision, but also the outcomes that will arise if the worst possible happens. This will also help the decision maker to take the right decision, keeping in the view the risk involved in the decision. That is a concept with regard to optimistic or pessimistic estimate. A decision maker has to make investment decisions or he has to plan accordingly. Whenever the manager makes an investment decision, the manager has to study in detail how much is the amount which he has to invest, how much is the returns which he is going to earn from that particular investment. So for example, a person is investing 1 lakh rupees in an investment and he will be receiving certain cash inflows. So while taking decision, the manager has to study in detail what will be the returns which he is going to earn from that particular investment under 3 different situations. Mostly it will be 2 different situations. 3 is an exemption case. For time being, we will be using 2 situations. So from a certain investment, the manager or the decision maker is expected to earn certain inflows. The inflows may be classified into 2 categories. That means for that particular investment, if the situation is an optimistic situation, so optimistic situation means favorable situation. If the market condition is very good, market share is high, demand is high, supply is high, likewise. So during an optimistic situation, the inflows will be different. So the manager has to identify what are the inflows during optimistic situation, and at the same time manager has to consider during the pessimistic situation or adverse situation. In that case, cash inflows may be different. So by analyzing the optimistic and pessimistic situations, he has to take the decision. That is the concept. And earlier I have mentioned that 3 situations. 3 situations means one is optimistic, other is pessimistic, and the situation that comes in between these 2 scenarios, that is optimistic and pessimistic. The one thing that comes in between these 2 cases is known as most likely. In other words, we can say normal situations. Usually you will be studying pessimistic and optimistic. So let us discuss the same situation with an practical example, then you will get a clear picture regarding the optimistic and pessimistic estimate concept. A manager wants to select a project from 3 mutually exclusive projects. I hope you know what is meant by mutually exclusive projects. Mutually exclusive project means there will be 3 projects. 3 are equivalent with regard to returns or with regard to opportunity cost, likewise. Selecting one maybe leads to the rejection of other 2. That is known as mutually exclusive projects. With 3 different outcomes. See, in this situation 3 different outcomes are given. Net profit if the outcomes turns out to be three outcomes is given, project is given, project three outcomes are given, that is outcome of one project, outcome of another project, outcome of another project. For X, project X, there will be three outcomes. Three outcome means one may be optimistic. Optimistic means the highest amount. Here this will be the optimistic, this will be the pessimistic, lower amount, and this will be the most likely or the normal situation. For the time being, we can assume like that. But always make assumption after reading entire question. For project Y also, three outcome is given, 70,000, 60,000 and 75,000. And project Z also is given 90,000, 80,000, 55,000. So if you check the amounts wisely, you can see that for project X, certain amounts are high, some are low. So higher may be assumed as optimistic, lower will be assumed as pessimistic. But if you go to the second project, you can see that in the X situation, the outcome where the amount was high, in that case amount will be small. See, in the case of X, our third outcome was 80,000, but in case of project Y, third outcome was 75,000. So that depends. If you go through Z, the third outcome is so it isn't like that. For project X, there are three outcomes. One may be higher, one may be lower, one may be normal. That is the meaning. So three outcomes for three projects is given. These three are the mutually exclusive projects. So we are going to study in detail which project has to be selected. Probability is also given. Probability means the chance of earning these amounts. For X, Y and Z, their first outcomes amount is given. The probability of earning 50,000 is 0.2, 70,000 is 0.2, 90,000 is 0.2. Likewise, for second outcome, for 65,000, their probability of earning 65,000 is 0.6. 0.6 means 60% chance. That is the meaning. Likewise, for project third outcome also, project's probability is given 0.2. Which project should be undertaken? So, whenever you come across a question where these three outcomes is given, three or four outcomes, that may be depending upon the nature of the question. So, in that case, you need to follow this method. So, first of all, you need to identify the actual net profit. Here in this question, here net profits is given, that is inflows is given. So, what is the actual net profit which this concern or from this project the organization is going to earn? We need to identify that. So first of all, let us deal with project X. So outcomes is given. Okay. 1, 2, 3 outcomes and its probability is given. Net profit of project X 50,000, 65,000, 80,000. Because first we are going to deal with project X 50,000, 65,000, 80,000. So for 50,000, the probability of that concern of earning 50,000 is 0.2%. So you need to identify what is actual amount. So estimated value that the organization is going to earn if they are selecting project X is first outcome is 10,000. For second case 65,000 is 0.6%, 0.6, that is 60%, 39,000, and for 80,000 it is 16,000. So we have got estimated value of the project X. So if you take it the total, you will get 65,000. See, in the beginning I have mentioned that if you add all these three amount, remember, if you add all these probabilities, you will get a total amount of 1. It won't exceed 1. So the estimated value of the net profit the organization going to earn from project X, if after adjusting all these probabilities with these outcomes, is around 65,000. So let us go to project Y. Project Y's outcomes is 70,000, 60,000, 75,000, and its probability is given 0.2, 0.6, 0.2. So if you multiply these probabilities with this net profits of project Y, you will get the estimated values of project Y. See, 0.2 into 70,000, 14,000, 0.6 into 39,000, 36,000, 0.2 into 75,000, 15,000. So if you add together all these, you will get a profit of 65,000. This is the estimated value of project Y after adjusting these probabilities with the three different outcomes of project Y. Previously you got 65,000, here also 65,000. So these two projects almost seem similar. So let us go to the project Z, whether it is having higher amount or not. Project Z's net profit is 90,000, 80,000, 55,000. You need to adjust the probabilities. So probability is of earning 90,000 is 18,000. Probability of earning 80,000 is 0.6, that is 48,000. Probability of earning 55,000, 0.2 is 11,000. So if you add together all these amounts, you get an amount of 77,000. So from the initial analysis, you can see that 77,000 is higher when it is compared with the returns or the total estimated values of other two projects. Here it is 65,000, in this case 65,000, but here 77,000. So naturally we can take a decision that project Z is the best when it is compared to project X and Y. This is one way of taking decisions. As I have mentioned earlier, from the manager's point of view, he has to consider optimistic situations as well as pessimistic situations. In between there will be most likely situation. We are not going to deal further into that. Now we will be studying optimistic, pessimistic. So from the optimistic point of view, the organization's best decision regarding which project has to be taken is project Z. Sometimes you may be asked to find, or you are asked to take a decision from the other way. Other way means from the pessimistic point of view. So in that case, the decision regarding, here we have decided that project Z is the best. But if you are taking a decision from the other point of view, your decision may change. Let's discuss that area also, then you will get a clear picture. However, if the maximum criteria were applied, the assessment would be as follows. Here for example, in the project X, the worst amount is, means there are three outcomes. The worst amount means a lowest value is 50,000. See, project X 50,000. In case of project Y, the lowest case is amount is 60,000. See, 60,000. And also project Z is the lowest amount is 55,000. But if you go through the amounts which has been earned by the various projects after considering the worst situations, by analyzing these three outcomes, you can see that project Y earns the maximum profit even after considering the worst situation. But earlier we have taken decision that project Z was the best because it is having the highest estimated value. But if you are considering the worst scenario, still in that situation also the highest amount earned by the project is project Y, because even after the worst situation it is earning an amount of 60,000. That's even the lowest amount. See, 70,000, 75,000 and 60,000. Still it is earning 60,000. If you are comparing that amount with the lowest amounts of other two projects, you can see that project Y is the best. See, by choosing Y, we are guaranteed a profit of at least 60,000, even in the worst case scenario, which is more than we could get from project X and project Z. So sometimes you may ask to take a decision from this point of view also. So you have to read the question very wisely. If there is no specification regarding which method has to be followed, we have done the method previously. See, project Z, that is enough. But sometimes in the question they may ask to find from this point of view, from the worst scenario point of view. Usually that may not be asked, but you need to prepare for that also. So this is how you have to deal with a optimistic and pessimistic estimate. And you may think that previously I have mentioned three situations like optimistic, pessimistic and most likely. Actually In this method we are studying only the optimistic and pessimistic, because you will be dealing another method in another heading where you will be studying in detail all these three situations in another form. Since we are using that three situation in that particular method, we are not including the most likely situation in this case. Here in this case we will be studying only the pessimistic and optimistic approach, or the best and the worst situations. So you need to understand the question very wisely and identify which is the best situation and which is the worst situation.